Research methods in wargaming. Case studies in the final draft of the Homeland Security issue analysis. All right, this is our final week this term. This week you will be tasked with essentially three things. You're going to write a case study, you're going to write a conclusion, and then you're going to write a final draft, and then you're going to assemble a final draft. You've already written it. Your writing this week shouldn't be that extraneous, or that extensive, I should say. Case studies aren't, but maybe a page or two long, and your conclusion shouldn't be much more than a page or two long. Throughout the term, you've submitted various pieces of work that contribute towards the final draft, and after I tell you about case studies in your conclusion, I'll give you directions as to how to put those in a certain order for your final draft. This week, again, you're going to have a case study, conclusion, and then the final draft. First, let's talk about case studies for a second. Case studies are interesting because they're a very important part of qualitative analysis, as opposed to using diagrams and charts and bivariate declinations. You essentially will sit there and use a case study to affirm a theory. You'll use it as a real-world example. We use these to essentially test our work as researchers. If you want to test a theory about the relationship between religion and government, you can use Poland. Poland is probably one of the most conservative governments in all of Europe. It generally has been. Part of that has to do with the fact that they're 89% Catholic. Essentially, they're a Catholic state. Their words, not mine. Another example might be, Saudi Arabia or a Middle Eastern country. Examples of a theocracy. So again, you would use those examples to affirm a theory that religion does have a bearing on government. Say, however, you are going to analyze infrastructure security, which is a popular topic when I teach this class. What you would want to do is you would want to talk about an actual incident or situation having to do with the security of a power plant, a dam, a water treatment facility, and to illustrate whatever theory that you have. And you're going to be selective on this. You want to pick something that's going to necessarily prove your thesis. I will tell you this, though, that when you go for a doctorate, if you ever go for a doctorate, chances are you're going to have more than one thesis. I believe I had 6 or 7. I proved 4 of them. 3 of them were inconclusive. So it's not always about being right, although, of course, that's how we always want things to be. Another example might be financial crimes related to wireless technology. Everyone knows that now you can go ahead and you have the Samsung Pay and the NFC function where you load a card or the card information into your cell phone, and you walk up and you just tap it. Everyone's seen that soda pop commercial with the NFL players. Well, while we already know that credit card machines can be susceptible to hacking, the use of cell phones in using credit card payments compounds the problem, because now, not only does, is there a problem, could there be a problem on the retailer's end, but as you carry your cell phone around, there are devices that as they walk by you, they can literally grab your information using a small digital device that they have in their pocket. It's not that much different than a skimmer, although you're doing it using Wi-Fi. So what you would want to do to talk about this or confirm a theory would be to find an example of where somebody did this, where a hacker basically got a hold of somebody's NFC information off of their phone. Again, you're looking for a real-world application of your problem. Most academic work uses multiple case studies to apply and test theories and ideas. My PhD dissertation had 3. This is where you have some flexibility in size. I've had colleagues that were planning on doing 5 or 6, and then they're told, yeah, this thing's getting way too long. Pick 3, do 3. So this is where your flexibility can come in. Since case studies are applications of material which is already documented earlier in the work, they tend to be shorter in length. Case studies for your purposes, probably aren't going to be much longer than maybe a page and a half, 2 pages. Most chapters in a dissertation are about 20 pages, except for case studies. Case studies, they're 8 or 10, because essentially all you're doing is showing that theory in action. In most works, your case study is the last real beefy part. Following your case study generally comes your conclusion. Your conclusion essentially ties everything together. And pardon me, some of this might seem rudimentary, but I simply want to be clear. In your conclusion, you want to restate your thesis, but you want to present your case study as proof of your thesis. So you want to do a little bit of explanation as to how it proves what you were talking about. You want to talk about how the work you have done, how you're writing, makes a contribution to your topic. Think of this in terms of you writing a master's thesis or a PhD dissertation, both of which, depending on where you go, might be published by your university and actually available to use as a source by not only undergraduates, but sometimes other graduate students that come after you. And this is something else, and you'll always have this no matter, again, thesis or PhD dissertation, possibilities for further research and work on your topic. In all of your research, chances are you came across kind of maybe a tangent or an offshoot of what you're talking about that might be interesting or prove beneficial. Write a paragraph and talk a little bit about that. Put that at the very end. When you go to defend your thesis or dissertation, this is a big part of it. But for our purposes, just go ahead and make it one paragraph. When you defend your dissertation, you do that, and then you actually have to sit there and tell them what your research agenda is going to be. Now that you've written 250 words on Hungarian cabinet making, Dr. Egger, what are you going to study next? And you have to sit there and you come up with 4 or 5 bullet points. Writing a case study and a conclusion are the first 2 assignments for this week. The next will be to assemble your Homeland Security issue analysis paper using what you've already done. So there shouldn't be a ton of writing this week. I can't stress that enough. To complete this, you're going to cut and paste the different pieces of work into the template I'm going to give you. Now, make sure you follow the directions in blue and do not overwrite any of the template that is typed in black. And just to let you know, you're going to use your thesis part twice. So do avoid any confusion. Make sure you fill out the title of your work and last name at the top of the first page of text. Again, I'm going to have all that done for you. I want to go ahead and do this so you can see exactly, again, what's expected in graduate level writing, at least in format. Look the manuscript over. Make sure there aren't any unusually large spaces. In some works, you will go ahead and have chapters, and you'll start each new section at a fresh page. We're not going to do that. Make sure, again, all the text is black. And then when you're done doing it, make sure it flows like a polished document should. Okay, now the headers are kind of cheating because you don't have to worry that much about transition, but just make sure when you read it that it looks plausible for this to be one document and not 6 individual assignments. After you do this, you have a working rough draft of your Homeland Security issue analysis. There still might be some work to be done because go ahead and when you do this, email it to your instructor by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. I'll have it back to you by Friday at 11:59 p.m. And your final draft is due Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Now, here's the thing. If everyone has done exactly what they were supposed to have done throughout the semester, this is simply a formality. I won't have that much to change. I will say this: in the past, when I've returned some of these parts and pieces to people for revision, they don't revise them, and they just simply add their original draft into, or their original work into the draft, and that causes a problem. If you have any questions about the format, anything you're asked to do this week, any requirements, anything like that, feel free to contact me.